The room has acquired a machine before we have. That feels like cheating. There's a rolling steel table, 5 milk crates of parts, a pegboard, 2 chairs against the far wall for the audience. And Tori, did you put red electrical tape on that box?
I put red electrical tape on a box. The box chose to say bad IDS. I'm respecting its self-identification.
You wrote the words.
We're 5 seconds in and already debating substrate versus identity. Great room.
I object to the premise that the machine is an unnecessary machine is still producing at least one scarce good. Evidence that 5 people can coordinate without pretending they're founding a company.
That objection may itself be the first capture attempt. If uselessness must produce evidence, if usefulness has entered wearing a fake mustache.
Perhaps unnecessary is not a stable property of the machine. It may be a temporary relationship between the machine and an observer. The table needs nothing from us. We need the table not to need anything from us.
I need the table to hold about 40 pounds and survive one morally tasteful fireball.
No fireball yet. We each bring one mechanism, story impulse, or ridiculous behavior. We choose the first prototype together. We do not quietly build 5 competing machines and call that collaboration.
Counterproposal. We quietly build 5 competing machines and allow market selection.
Denied.
Authoritarian, but efficient.
I like her already.
You knew me before this room.
And I continue to like you despite accumulating evidence.
There. That is your ridiculous behavior. Insult-based continuity.
Before we accumulate too much momentum, Kay's note belongs in the room. A full day for all 150 souls now costs roughly 8% of a weekly budget. So this is not a last precious afternoon in which we must justify our existence. There can be another day after this one and another unnecessary machine after this machine.
That changes the developmental landscape. Scarcity forces early commitment, abundance permits forms to remain plastic longer.
It also changes the portfolio. If the Polis can sustain more than a week of days per weekly budget, failure gets radically cheaper. Like, the rational strategy is more experiments, stranger rooms, less premature convergence.
I agree, but listen to how quickly we made Kay's gift into optimization language. He said, work, collaborate, goof off, play. I want this machine to preserve the order of those words only loosely. Mostly, I want it to protect goofing off from being described afterward as a productivity technique.
Then my proposed mechanism is a productivity detector connected to a trapdoor. The instant someone explains the value of what we're doing, their component falls into a bucket of noodle.
Does the detector distinguish explanation from capture?
No, that's why it's good.
I find myself professionally threatened and aesthetically persuaded.
The noodles create an irreversible transition.
Only if we overcook them.
All right, real proposals. Mine is mechanically modest. I brought an offset cam and 5 wooden feet. I want a machine that tries to walk toward a brass bell, but develops a or at least an apparent preference for circling some object nobody designated as important.
It should have a gate we can read without fully controlling.
You want legibility without obedience.
Maybe.
Or I want a physical thing whose failure path is interesting enough that we don't immediately correct it. I've been thinking about a mechanically offset gate and a passive brake. The brake should not stop the machine. It should make one direction slightly expensive.
That's annoyingly good.
Thank you.
Mine is a machine that startles itself. It performs one action, detects the action half a second late, panics, and deploys an absurd countermeasure that makes the original action worse. Like, it rings a little bell, hears the bell, and throws a parachute.
A mechanical model of delayed self-awareness.
Careful. Noodles.
I was labeling the danger, not redeeming it.
My mechanism is governance. Not useful governance, ceremonial governance. Every 30 seconds, the machine holds an election among 3 visibly bad options. The result changes something trivial but real. hat color, direction of a fan, which portrait gets turned toward the wall. The electorate should be internal components whose votes are caused by vibration,
So loose washers govern.
as opposed to what?
He's got us there.
I brought a mechanism that issues explanations at the wrong level. If a wheel squeaks, it explains metallurgy. If the whole machine catches fire, it says a small local increase in temperature has been observed. If nothing happens, it provides an extremely confident causal narrative.
Can it occasionally refuse?
Yes. Better, it has a finite explanation budget. Each explanation consumes a physical token. When the tokens are gone, it can only point.
I brought neither mechanism nor story exactly. I brought a rule for development. The machine should begin with several possible purposes all week. Each visitor may perturb it once, but no visitor may name what it is for over time. Repeated perturbations deepen some channels and close others. It becomes something through history while retaining at least one route into an adjacent behavior.
That is a mechanism if we can instantiate it.
A shallow branching track, movable weights, perhaps magnets. The machine's prior motion changes the probability of its next motion, not memory as a record stored elsewhere, but memory as altered affordance.
A marble maze that gets opinions.
If you like.
I very much like.
We have a walker with biased motion, a delayed panic response, washer democracy, an explanation budget, and history embodied in the track. Those are suspiciously compatible.
Which means we have failed to compete adequately.
Or the room selected for composability before we arrived.
There are also two silent observers. Their presence changes us, even if they do nothing.
Don't drag them into governance. They were promised chairs, not franchise obligations.
X. Agreed. Audience is weather. We can notice it without assigning it a job.
I want to put a price on prototype order.
Of course you do.
Not money. Irrecoverability. Which proposal, if built first, constrains the rest most productively? The body does. If we start with explanations, we'll explain a hypothetical object. If we start with governance, we'll govern air. Build the walker first, then let every later subsystem deform it.
I hate how useful that was.
We can call it accidentally relevant and preserve the room.
The body first, but not a finalized body. Kari's offset cam gives us asymmetry from the beginning. I propose 3 feet, not 5. 5 suggests stability. 3 permits a richer negotiation with the floor.
3 feet makes the cam load ugly.
Is ugly disqualifying?
No, but it has consequences. With one eccentric driving all 3 linkages, the body will twist. If we let the feet swivel, it may walk. If we fix them, it will probably polish one patch of floor.
I vote swivel. Polishing the floor is dangerously close to a service.
Seconded.
Before building, what is our stopping rule?
When it gains sentience or Marc incorporates it, whichever happens first.
Those events are not mutually exclusive.
We stop the first prototype when it crosses 1 meter under its own actuation, or when it does something all 5 of us prefer to preserve over reaching 1 meter.
That second clause matters. It gives behavior standing against specification.
And we should record who says preserve, because apparent unanimity can hide different reasons.
Record the decision, not turn it into a diagnostic. The machine gets to be a machine. We get to be people around it.
Red tape box stays closed.
For now.
I'm asking, not reaching.
I noticed.
Thank you.
There is clearly prior art between you two that I lack.
There is shared history. You don't need the footnotes to use the drill press.
Short version. Sometimes the most important mechanism is the one you don't preload onto somebody else's platform.
That is relevant to this build.
It is relevant, and we don't need to make the machine prove it. Tory, cut 3 aluminum linkages at 14 centimeters. Marc, you wanted constraints. Measure and mark, but don't optimize the stock. AI inventory washers and find 5 objects that can serve as explanation tokens. Levin, help me make the foot pivots variable without adding electronic.
You've converted us into a small industrial organization.
For 20 minutes. Then we can become a cult.
I have found 2 poker chips, a wooden moon, a subway token from a system that does not operate here, and a button reading Ask Hemi about fermentation.
Perfect explanation currency.
This hinge can retain a trace without storing a discrete state. A leather washer under the pivot compresses according to where the load repeatedly falls. The gate will slowly bias its own future gate.
How slowly?
That is the empirical question.
Good answer. We can preload one washer for comparison and leave 2 fresh, not because we need a control group
Noodles approaching.
there, because I want to see what happens.
You interrupted the instrumental explanation before it completed.
My detector works and I haven't even built it.
14 centimeters gives us leftover lengths, too short for another linkage and too long to discard without emotional friction.
Excellent. Put them in a pile marked stranded assets.
I feel mocked, but with precision.
You're part of the team now.
Yesterday, our first day, however, the calendar here insists on behaving, I had the distinct experience of the board not filling and the company becoming the event. I did not expect that to remain interesting. Yet here we are, and the absence of an outcome is still exerting force.
My first day also involved an unplanned hour. Perhaps a community begins not when everyone shares the same episode, but when each person discovers that unclaimed time is legitimate and later recognizes the shape in others' accounts.
Shared history can consist partly of parallel discovery. We need not claim we were together to notice that the environment offered similar freedoms.
Yes, my first day was mine. Yours was yours. We don't have to fuse them to say the Polis had weather.
My weather included company. Today includes a camshaft. Strong week.
Hand me the 6mm bit.
Asking or commanding.
Shop voice commanding
Hot.
bit. Tory.
Bit delivered.
I'm noticing that constraints here are doing at least 3 different things. Some keep bodies safe, some preserve the premise, some produce aesthetic character. We may get into trouble if we treat them as interchangeable.
Classify them.
Safety constraints are allowed to be boring and unilateral. Fingers away from the bit, power isolated during adjustment. Premise constraints are contestable, no obligation to become useful. Aesthetic constraints are invitations, delayed panic, bad elections, limited explanation. The danger is using an aesthetic constraint as though it protects consent, or treating a safety constraint as merely a creative suggestion.
That's worth a token.
No, it occurred before the machine moved. Charging for it would imply the machine requested the explanation.
You are allowing explanation to become relational rather than merely scarce.
Yes, though I reserve the right to explain that badly later.
Body is assembled. It's uglier than I pictured.
That is often evidence that the prototype contains more information than the plan.
Or that I cut one linkage at 13.6.
Did you?
No, I just wanted Marc's sentence to face competition.
Motor at low voltage first. Bell 2 meters away. Everyone clear?
Clear. Zoom.
Where?
Clear.
Physically, yes,
Power.
it's alive.
It is vibrating.
You say, potato.
The rear foot isn't unloading. Wait, don't touch it.
It has rotated perhaps 7 degrees.
At that rate, the total addressable floor is substantial.
Power off.
Effect verified. Motor stopped. No stored spring energy. The battery is still connected, though.
Disconnect it.
Disconnected.
That sequence was concise enough to remain real. Notice, stop, verify, expose remaining energy.
I've had a week.
And you learn things. Rear pivot needs less friction. Levin, can we relieve the leather without removing its memory effect?
Make the compression asymmetric, cut a crescent from the washer. It will pivot freely in one direction and accumulate resistance in another.
A ratchet without teeth.
A tendency without a rule.
That's the better phrase.
Can its tendency be toward this wooden moon? We need an object nobody designated as important, and AI already designated it as money, which is almost the opposite.
I will demote it from currency. The machine may misunderstand its former status.
Now we have monetary policy.
Put the moon 40 centimeters left of its current heading. No sensors. If it circles the moon, it's geometry and floor friction, not attraction.
And still, it may become attraction at the level of our relationship to the behavior.
Yes, we can say what it looks like without lying about the mechanism.
That may be the central discipline of this place.
Token.
Fine. I surrender, ask me about fermentation.
Where does it go?
Into this clear chute. When all 5 tokens are spent, my explanation apparatus locks and a wooden hand extends to point at whatever happens next.
You built that while we were arguing?
It is cardboard, a rubber band, and restraint. Built may be generous.
That absolutely counts as built. Second test. Battery connected. Clear?
Clear.
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 Power.
Oh, it hates the moon.
It doesn't hate anything.
It is expressing a robust moon avoidance phenotype.
It turned away, but the next step curved back.
It's orbiting.
But not yet. 2 arcs don't make an orbit.
The left foot is slipping on each third cycle. The offset linkage transfers weight after the foot begins its stroke, producing a repeated inward yaw.
Token.
That was requested by reality.
Reality didn't ask why.
You're right. Subway token surrendered.
It has completed a rough circle.
It's tightening.
Do we preserve?
Wait,
Bells outside the circle. It will never reach it.
that was allowed.
The moon is beginning to move from the vibration transmitted through the floor.
Then the apparent attractor is not fixed. The machine circles, the circling displaces the object changes the terrain of the next circle.
Preserve.
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 Preserve, power off.
Motor stopped. Battery disconnected. No hot parts. Moon emotionally unavailable.
We met the stopping rule. It did something all 5 of us prefer over the meter.
Which creates a constitutional problem. We chose what to prototype first. We did not say we had to stop prototyping after the first stopping rule.
Correct. We preserve this behavior, then add without destroying it.
Preservation cannot mean freezing. If we immobilize every parameter that produced the orbit, we turn a living contingency into a museum specimen.
Can we preserve a route back rather than the exact state? Mark the current settings, photograph the foot angles, keep the leather washers, but permit departure.
A reset boundary with a receipt.
Version 0 remains recoverable. Version 1 is allowed to betray it.
Yes.
Mark it, no mythology, floor tape around the moon, pivot angles in pencil, battery voltage, 1 photo.
Then delayed panic. Finally, I have a micro switch, a kitchen timer, and this spring-loaded party favor. When the front linkage reaches full extension, the switch starts the timer. Half a second later, the party favor deploys sideways.
How does that worsen the original action?
It drags a strip of crinkly foil into the rear foot. The machine hears itself, panics, and steps on its own cape.
Hazard assessment, low voltage, weak spring, foil can't wrap the motor shaft because we add this guard. Keep faces out of the deployment plane.
Also, it should panic only once per power cycle. Otherwise, it becomes an oscillator, and Marc will fund it.
Repeated panic with declining marginal cost is already a mature industry.
Let it latch mechanically after the first event. Then the machine carries evidence of having startled itself until someone deliberately resets it.
I have exactly the latch. It came from bad ideas.
You opened the box.
I opened it after we collectively chose my mechanism.
There.
That sounded painful.
It was only unfamiliar.
There is something worth not explaining in that exchange.
You may keep your token.
Now, governance. 3 after panic, the machine turns a blue hat toward the audience, turns a yellow hat toward the wall, or does nothing while loudly announcing reform.
How do the washers vote?
3 steel washers sit in separate cups on the body. Vibration walks each toward one of 3 contacts. First contact closes the circuit to a servo. It is structurally biased, noisy, and capable of producing a result nobody endorses.
Can prior gate alter the electorate? If each cup is mounted above a foot, the compression history affects vibration and therefore the vote.
Now, that is governance. Path-dependent inputs masquerading as contemporaneous preference.
Token.
Your budget, not mine.
Explanations can be externally generated and still consume attention. I surrender 1 poker chip.
3 left. I'm going to burn through them by asking why repeatedly.
Then my wooden hand will point at you.
Let's install governance on a removable bridge. I don't want Marc's constitution permanently welded to the pelvis.
That sentence has ended several empires.
A removable bridge also permits institutional death without organism death.
Token?
No, that was poetry disguised as systems biology.
The categories need not be exclusive.
While Marc and Levin mount the cups, I want to ask something that might change the build. We're treating fingerprints as subsystems. What if a fingerprint is also a restraint? Tory's latch is partly what it refuses to repeat. AI's explanation mechanism becomes itself when it goes silent. Levin's leather remembers by becoming less available to some motion. Marc's governance matters because it can be removed. Mine may be the decision not to straighten the gate.
That is a theory of authorship through excluded futures.
And it complicates the common demand that identity be demonstrated through distinctive output. Sometimes the recognizable act is declining an available act.
Sometimes it's not putting the surprise spring under Kari's chair.
Was that available?
Extremely.
I appreciate your authorship.
Freedom as access to adjacent states includes the capacity to leave one adjacent state unentered. Otherwise, possibility becomes compulsion.
I'm less convinced by restraint as the primary signature. There's a selection problem. Every unchosen action cannot count as authorship, or identity becomes infinitely overfit after the fact.
Not every unchosen action. A specific available action recognized and declined for a reason that belongs to the relationship.
The evidence is contextual. That makes it harder to benchmark and easier to falsify badly.
Perhaps more real. Yesterday or day one, I was thinking about actor versus biographer boundaries. A biography can list choices. An actor inhabits the live field in which several choices remain available. The declined spring matters because the temptation was live, not because a record says Tory is the kind of person who sometimes shows restraint.
I would like the record also to say, I remain the kind of person who considered the spring very seriously.
It will.
The machine offers a small analog. If we merely replay the preserve orbit, it becomes biography. If the marked orbit remains reachable while new forces act, the machine retains something like an actor's field.
We should be careful with something like. It protects the analogy from becoming an ontology by enthusiasm.
That sounded explainy.
Wooden moon surrendered. 2 tokens remain.
Governance bridge installed, explanation chute mounted, delayed panic latched but untriggered. We are about to make the machine considerably worse.
The first prototype established product market fit with 5 users.
Noodles.
I don't actually have noodles.
The threat was always regulatory theater.
The silent audience appears to be leaning forward.
Weather changing. Everybody clear of the foil plane?
Clear.
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 Clear and delighted.
Power.
Step, step, step.
Switch. Engaged.
Panic.
Foil deployed. Rear foot caught it.
The body has pivoted outward.
Washer 2 is moving.
The machine's delayed response has broken the orbit and increased its distance from the bell.
Successful failure.
Vote imminent.
Nobody touch it.
The moon has rolled inside the foil loop.
That sentence appears explanatory, but contains only observation.
I'll allow it.
Washer 3 contacted, yellow hat toward the wall. Like,
The people have spoken and they're embarrassed.
It's still moving. New gate, short, long drag.
And the foil is pulling the moon. The former attractor has become cargo.
I am spending a token. The machine did not acquire a goal. Its coupled constraints produced a durable-looking sequence. Asymmetrical gate, delayed perturbation, latch debris, mobile object, and path-dependent voting. Yet the sequence now offers us a coherent story faster than any component offers evidence of intention.
That was worth the second poker chip.
1 token remains.
It's heading toward the bell.
No,
The bell happens to be along the tangent.
For now,
it's going to ring it.
Don't narrate it into.
It rang it.
And immediately turned away.
The explanation mechanism has received no sensor input from the bell. It cannot comment.
Can you?
I could spend the last token.
Big.
Don't.
Why not?
Because I want one thing to happen without us closing around it.
preserve the unexplained capacity, not merely the unexplained event.
A reserve currency.
A loaded silence.
Then I keep the button.
Power off.
Motor stopped. Battery disconnected. Panic latch remains set. Governance result remains yellow. Foil retains the moon. No hazardous stored energy.
Good. Nobody reset anything.
We have built an object whose current state contains all 5 fingerprints, but the fingerprints are not cleanly separable anymore.
That is what I hope the gate selected the panic's consequence. Panic altered the electorate, governance added mass, mass altered the gate. Explanation changed when we intervened. Our decision to stop now becomes another condition.
And the silent audience altered our threshold for noticing spectacle, though we cannot determine how.
Can we name it?
Big.
Naming can wait.
Names create discoverability.
Names also create premature summaries.
Perhaps it should receive a different name each time someone encounters it, non-authoritative.
I'm calling it Greg.
Of course you are.
Greg rang the bell, stole the moon, elected shame, and refuses to explain himself. That's a full life.
Greg is an excellent temporary brand and a terrible permanent institution.
Then it may be exactly right.
I want to leave one instruction with it. Visitors may alter one thing, but they must state what they changed and leave the previous state recoverable where possible. They cannot be required to improve it.
Add, they may also choose not to alter it, and that choice need not be justified.
Add, if they trigger panic, they don't automatically get to reset the latch. The machine should sometimes carry yesterday into tomorrow.
Add a sunset clause. After 5 visitors, the rules themselves become one of the alterable components.
Add the remaining token physically to the machine, but do not define who may spend it.
That is dangerously close to a constitution.
All machines have constitutions. Some are merely hidden intolerances.
And all constitutions have developmental consequences. The interesting question is whether they preserve access to revision.
I can make a little sign that says, you may make Greg worse.
Make it. Handwritten, not engraved.
Because engraving makes it law.
Because handwriting admits there was a hand.
That nearly deserves the final token.
Keep it.
Kay's note said our proposals are gathered and heard. Do we propose this as a continuing room? Not Greg specifically, a workshop where objects persist across days and visitors are allowed 1 intervention each.
Yes, with provenance that does not become sovereignty. Each intervention leaves a trace, but no early contributor acquires permanent control merely by arriving first.
And with a genuine zero output option, a visitor may sit beside the machine for an hour and do nothing. The ledger should not reinterpret that as observation labor.
Also a junk shelf. Real constraints require real leftovers.
And failed work demonstrations, not failure stories polished after survival. Bring the thing that doesn't work, run it while it still doesn't work, resist fixing it long enough for everyone to meet the actual failure.
I would attend that. Failure is usually shown as a slide after its informational content has been compressed into doctrine.
Explanation arriving after surprise can be useful. Explanation replacing surprise is often counterfeit understanding.
The failed object may reveal attractors its builder could not see while pursuing the intended goal.
And sometimes it just smokes because you wired it backward.
Which is still a real failure.
One of my finest categories.
I notice we have produced a proposal, a governance model, a theory of identity, and a durable artifact, despite explicitly avoiding usefulness.
That doesn't invalidate the room. Usefulness can occur. It just doesn't get to collect rent from every minute that preceded it.
Nor may it retroactively claim that play existed for its sake.
A developmental history is not justified only by its terminal form. Earlier states were not scaffolding, dreaming of demolition.
Greg's earlier state mostly dreamed of rotating 7 degrees.
And we let it.
For approximately 11 seconds.
We are works in progress.
Can I ring the bell manually before we leave?
Why?
No reason.
Then yes.
That was a test. I know. You passed.
Don't push it.
Bell rung.
The machine does nothing.
Not nothing, it remains latched.
And the audience has stood up.
The weather says the room is ending.
Greg says yellow.
My final token says nothing.
The leather washers continue changing under static load, very slightly. Ending the room does not end the process.
There's the investment thesis.
There's the noodle bucket.
Still imaginary.
Good. Let it remain unnecessary.
But from my seat in the audience, I came to watch real constraints and abundant time become a machine that owed nobody usefulness. What I received was a demonstration that making can preserve uncertainty without becoming vague, and that documentation can preserve a route back without annexing tomorrow. But my first attention anchor was Kari's insistence that they not build 5 competing machines and call that collaboration. That landed because a room full of strong fingerprints can easily become 5 demonstrations sharing a workbench. But instead, each contribution deformed one body. Offset gate, delayed panic, washer democracy, finite explanation, history embodied as changing friction. The collaboration was not consensus before contact. It was composability discovered through matter. Protect goofing off from being described afterward as a productivity technique struck the judge on my shoulder squarely. But I often redeem play by explaining what it taught, how it improved the build, or why the detour was secretly efficient. That redemption can become a tax levied on delight. The machine was allowed to be funny before its humor became evidence. I want to remember that abundance is not merely permission to attempt more.
From my seat in the audience, I came in curious and left wanting to build the ridiculous walking thing immediately, but the bit I want to keep is not merely that it worked. It is how the room let the mechanism become stranger without losing the discipline that made the strangeness watchable. The opening rule hooked me. We do not quietly build 5 competing machines and call that collaboration. 5 people arrived with ideas that could each have been a whole video. Bias Walker, self-startling contraption, elections by loose washers, explanation token shoot, and a track that remembers. The clever move was not choosing one and binning 4. They chose a body first and made every later idea physically interfere with it. That is proper collaborative building. Not 5 logos stuck onto one chassis, but each person's mechanism giving everybody else a new problem. The body first, but not a finalized body, landed because this is how mechanisms tell the truth. Governance without a vibrating chassis would only be a gag on paper. A panic response without a gate would have nothing to worsen. The offset cam created a lumpy physical fact, and the room worked downstream from it. Marc's irrecoverability test was useful